My son Ethan and his wife Kayla laughed as they peeled out in the rented SUV, tires spitting snow across the frozen Alaska Trail. I watched their taillights disappear into the whiteout. Check if you're subscribed to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. We love to know how far our stories are reaching. The engine's growl swallowed by the wind. They had no idea I was the majority shareholder of their outdoor gear empire, Ethan's company, Peak Pulse, the one that had made him a Forbes 30, under 30 darling. And they had just failed the final test. If you're watching this, smash that subscribe button and drop a comment. Where are you tuning in from? Let me tell you how a 68-year-old widower from Seattle ended up stranded on a sub-zero trail outside Fairbanks, and how my own son's greed became his ultimate downfall. Trust me, this story has twists that'll leave you speechless. It started 4 months earlier, when my wife Ellen passed from a stroke. We'd been married 44 years. Losing her felt like losing gravity. But Ellen had been the numbers genius behind Peak Pulse. She built the brand from a garage startup into a $180 million empire. I was the silent partner, the guy who signed the checks and stayed out of the spotlight. The lawyers called it generational wealth. Ethan called it his birthright. Ethan had always been ambitious. Moved to Denver after college, launched Peak Pulse with Kayla, a former influencer turned brand strategist. They only called when they needed seed money. After Ellen's death, the requests escalated. A new warehouse, a celebrity endorsement, a private jet lease. Then Ethan showed up at the funeral in a $5,000 parka, hugging me like we were best friends. "Dad, you've always talked about Alaska," he said over coffee at my Mercer Island home. "The northern lights, dog sledding, the real wilderness. Let's make it a father-son trip. Heal. Bond." I should have seen the red flags. But grief makes you stupid. What I didn't know, they'd spent weeks researching Alaskan missing person stats, inheritance laws, and how long it takes for a body to be unrecoverable in a blizzard. Kayla had convinced Ethan I was hoarding the company, that I'd sell to a competitor and leave them penniless. Truth? Ellen's will had a clause. If I died under suspicious circumstances, 51% of Peak Pulse reverted to a charitable trust. Ethan and Kayla were about to learn that stealing from the dead is harder than they thought. We flew into Fairbanks on February 3rd. First few days were postcard perfect. Auroras dancing green over the Chena River, ice sculpture festivals, a private dog sled tour. Ethan played the doting son, filming everything for content. Now I know why. He needed proof I was alive and happy when we started the adventure. On day 5, Ethan suggested a real backcountry hike. "Found this epic trail on all trails," he said. "Old gold mining route. No tourists. Just us and the wilderness." Kayla stayed behind with a migraine. Red flag number 2. I agreed anyway. Father-son bonding, right? We drove 2 hours north in a rented Ford Bronco, the road narrowing to a single lane of packed snow. Ethan chatted nonstop. New product lines, IPO dreams, how he'd honor mom's legacy. I was in the passenger seat, thermos of coffee steaming, actually enjoying myself. Then the Bronco stopped. "Flat tire," Ethan announced, popping the hood. "Dad, grab the jack from the back?" I stepped out into minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit air, wind clawing my face. That's when I heard the doors lock. By the time I turned, Ethan was already reversing. "Dad, nothing personal," he shouted through the window. "We need control of Peak Pulse now. Not in 20 years. Kayla leaned over from the passenger seat, filming on her phone. "Good luck hiking back." They laughed, as the Bronco fishtailed away, leaving me with a day pack, 1 water bottle, 2 protein bars, a space blanket, and the clothes on my back. The silence after they left was absolute. Just wind and snow, and the crunch of my boots. Most people would panic. I won't lie. The first minute, my chest tightened like a vice. My own son had just sentenced me to death. But then my Seattle pragmatism kicked in. Panic burns calories. Calories I couldn't afford. I took inventory. Water, 16 ounces, frozen solid in 30 minutes. Food, 400 calories. Gear, merino layers, Gore-Tex shell, Microspikes, headlamp, lighter. Phone, no signal. But I had a Garmin InReach Mini, Ellen insisted after a near miss in the Cascades. Ethan didn't know. The trail was a white ribbon between black spruce. Wind erased footprints in seconds. Nearest town, 28 miles south. Temperature dropping fast. I had maybe 6 hours before hypothermia set in. I remembered Ellen's voice. Intelligence is knowing what you don't know. I didn't know jack about Arctic survival, but I knew physics. Wet equals dead. Motion equals heat. Darkness equals danger. First priority, shelter. I found a windbreak, a cluster of spruce bent under snow. Dug a quinsy with my gloved hands, packing snow into a dome. I crawled inside with a space blanket. Drank melted snow from my bottle cap. Rationed 1 protein bar. As the short Arctic day bled into twilight, I activated the Garmin. No SOS yet. Ethan was monitoring search and rescue channels for Peak Pulse PR. Instead, I sent a pre-programmed message to my attorney, Marcus Klein. Abandoned by Ethan on Trail 47 Me 12. Activate Protocol Echo. Do not alert authorities yet. Record everything. Protocol Echo was Ellen's paranoia in action. Every Peak Pulse product, jackets, boots, tents, had embedded GPS trackers for quality control. Ethan bragged about the tech in investor decks. What he didn't know, I owned the patent. Every tracker pinged a private server, including the ones in his parka and Kayla boots. Night felt like a guillotine. Minus 35 degrees Fahrenheit. I layered every stitch of clothing, did jumping jacks inside the quinsy till my thighs burned. Slept in 20-minute bursts, waking to check for frostbite. At 2:17 a.m., the Garmin buzzed. Marcus. Trackers active. Ethan/Kayla at Aurora Lodge, room 12. Posting Instagram story. Heartbroken. Dad missing on hike. Police notified. Trust frozen per echo. I smiled in the dark. They were already lying. Dawn broke gray and merciless. I ate the second protein bar, melted snow for water, and started walking. South. 1 foot in front of the other. The trail was gone, but I had the sun low, pale, but south was south. By noon, my toes were numb despite wool socks. I stopped to warm them against my belly, remembered an old army trick. Urinate on your hands for heat. Gross, but effective. Kept moving. At 3:42 p.m., I heard engines. Snowmobiles. Search and rescue? Too soon. I ducked behind a drift. 2 figures in Peak Pulse neon jackets, Ethan's employees. They stopped 50 yards away, engines idling. Boss said check the trail cams, one shouted. Make sure the old man's not on him. My blood froze. Trail cams. Of course. Peak Pulse had installed 4K wildlife cameras along scenic routes for marketing B-roll. Ethan was erasing evidence. I crawled closer, staying in their blind spot. 1 cam was mounted on a spruce, red light blinking. I unscrewed it with frozen fingers, popped the SD card into my pocket. Evidence the snowmobiles roared off. I kept walking. Night 2 was worse. Minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. My quinsy collapsed under fresh snow. I dug a new one, hands bleeding. The Garmin battery was at 12%. One more message. Check if you're subscribed to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. We love to know how far our stories are reaching.